Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, that intro was a little bit faster than I anticipated. So, like, I'm not quite ready here. There we go. All right. Good morning, Uzi. Let's go into the charts. Man, I cut into the end of that song. It immediately ended. There we go. All right, some rollovers. So, what do we got here in the overnight? Well, so yesterday we had that retail sales news that moved the market quite a bit. But by the end of the session, we had recovered it. We are moving down a little bit in the overnight, which I actually kind of thought maybe would be on the upside. But there was a comment from Feds Williams that kind of said the Federal Reserve is close to cutting rates, but they're not quite there yet, which I think was really intended to mean not July. We won't do it in July, but maybe August. And right now, the market is pricing in pretty much 100% chance that they will cut in August. All right. Now, over here in the S&P 500, we're down quite a bit. And so what was going on there is it ASML, the Taiwanese chip maker, released their earnings. They were not very good. And then on top of that, Donald Trump said that, yeah, even Taiwan is going to have to pay for defense. And so I think that's why you're getting some of the reaction there. I think it was mostly to do with earnings, but it is kind of a hint here now that the market is so certain that Donald Trump will be president that pretty much every little offhand comment he makes that could have potential economic impact, the market is overreacting to. Essentially, we're back into that world, which is a fun world for us traders, but it can also be a little bit frustrating. You got to stay on your toes. Here's oil still reeling from, the downside action, but the 79.5, 80-ish area does appear to be providing some short-term support. Gold and silver, though. Ooh, oh man, gold looks so good. Gold looks so good. And silver not quite doing as well as gold, but it's still going. It's still going okay. All right. Copper continues to languish. So part of it, I think, here is that the Chinese economy is just not going very well. Like, they're having bank failures and all of this kind of stuff. So I think that's a major factor in copper, why they continue to languish here, right? And then we got the Japanese yen. Well, so what's going on over there? Is it intervention? Some people are saying that people are just kind of rethinking the Japanese yen's place. Like, if we're going back into lower interest rates and it becomes a funding currency, and the way that the carry trade works and all of these sorts of things. But I kind of suspect that there may be some more intervention going on over there, because that is a big move. That is a big move on basically nothing. All right. And then we got Bitcoin. Bitcoin jumped above 60K when after the shooting over the weekend, because, Donald Trump is pro crypto this time. Again, a dynamic that is going on that is not being talked about a lot, but is very important for us as investors, market watchers, etc., as it relates to Donald Trump, is that Donald Trump has gained a large degree of support from the tech millionaire class. These were people that really did not like Trump before, but are kind of now turning around and saying, oh, you know what? Actually, the Democrat Party's policies have been a disaster. Joe Biden has been a disaster, and Trump wasn't that bad. And not only that, but I think they've also kind of realized that they can influence Trump. And with their support, they have been able to convince him to be pro crypto and all of these other sorts of things. And so you're seeing that in the price of Bitcoin. A warning, let's say it's Gabsy Bami. That's a new name. Welcome to the stream. PayPal Hentalaga is back. Greetings from Nord Stream Bomb. And Namrus, welcome back. All right. Well, so for me today, I do think we're going to have a little bit more active of a session than maybe some of the days past. But I personally am going to be hands off today. I feel like super burnt out. I think part of it was just yesterday. Like, remember yesterday, I was late to the stream because the faucet broke and all of my eggs broke. And it was just like a bad start to the day. And the whole day was just kind of like that. I did have a doctor's appointment, and on the way back from the doctor's appointment, I picked up some UPSs. So I got 2 APC rack mount UPSs for $200, so $100 a pop. One of them was a 1500 voltage amp hour thing. And when I was there at the guy's house, he showed me, they both work. He turned them both on, plug the battery in, plug it in, plug the battery in, it works. Okay, cool. Disconnect the battery. So, because if you keep the battery plugged in, then the UPS will just keep running even after you unplug it, right? It makes sounds that, hey, the power went out. So you want to unplug the battery. So I take it home, put it in. Was a real pain to mount those, by the way, because it's heavy. The UPS is heavy. The 1500 voltage amp one is super heavy. Like I carried it in by myself, but like barely. And I get everything connected, and the larger one says connect battery, and I connect the battery and it doesn't do anything. I messed around with it a ton. I turned it on and off and all of these sorts of things. I think there's more things that I can do. Like I want to do a factory reset. Actually, I could probably do that while we're doing here today, because I'm only connected into the small one because the big one's not working. So that kind of sucked, and I spent a lot of time doing that. And my wife and kids, they needed to go to the Apple store to fix a watch. But then when they got there, one of the girls had a headache, so they had to come back. So then they didn't go back until like 6:15. So I had to watch the kids, and there's Asher likes soda. And so he's got like 1,000 cans around, and then Ethan will take them and dump them out. I'm running around everywhere, cleaning things. Didn't end up eating dinner until like 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'm a little burnt out. And when you have something and it doesn't go your way, like with the UPS, that's also really sucks. I was hoping that if I plugged it in and left it on overnight, that I would come and it would be charged, because I was getting this thing where if I had been messing around with it for a while, and then I went and I unplugged it, it lasted a little bit longer. But it's still showing me like the battery's not connected. Maybe the connector is just bad. I don't know. The Destiny was banned from Kick, demonetized by Twitter, and apparently solicited youthful pics from a girl on Twitter. Yeah, it's it comes back to this thing on cancel culture. Like, I think that some people, when we were saying like there's a problem with cancel culture, that they took that to mean, hey, anybody should be able to say anything that they want at any time and not suffer any kind of economic consequences. Well, I don't like this thing where it's like you own a business and you have to be like overly careful about what you say. Otherwise, people will like boycott your business and that sort of a thing, right? I really hate that. But there are things that you can say, man. There are things that you can say that people are just not going to support you. Coming in and saying like, you know, I don't feel bad for the 50% of the country that supports Donald Trump if they get shot. That's not okay. It's not okay. People are not going to support you when you do that. Like the hardcore leftists might like you because they're crazy, but like everybody else is going to leave, and it is in violation of that platform's policies. So it's only a 2-week ban for him for hate speech, but you know, I think that line had kind of been crossed. The thing that bothered me about cancel culture, twofold. One was that the line that people were trying to draw was ridiculous. It was like, unless you're a raving communist, we're going to cancel you. It was absolutely disgusting. Some of the level at which the left wants to hold things to. And the other thing that I had an issue with was that like people were being fired from jobs and removed. Like, I think a good example was the Gina Carano thing. Okay, like all of her fans, I think that what she said was totally appropriate. I thought that, I don't know, anytime you're making Holocaust comparisons, you're kind of on shaky ground. It's probably better to not go there. But I do think that her comparison was apt, and I don't think that it was deserving of, you know, being removed. And the fans liked her and wanted her to stay, and Disney got rid of her because of their liberal, the people in charge's liberal recollections, or what was the word that we want to use. And there was other people that said like similar things the other direction that weren't punished, right? And so that's where I'm like on cancel culture, right? So like when it comes to Destiny, I'm just absolutely disgusted by what he said. I used to, you know, kind of, well, okay, he's a personality in the streaming area that a lot of people are talking about, so and in politics, so I guess I'll keep tabs a little bit on what's going on. But now I'm like, I don't want him to be a prominent streamer, right? Like anything that I can do to you know, like when it's on TikTok and he pops up, I scroll immediately. It was funny because I started doing that and the algorithm started going, wait a second. Okay, we'll show you something else and then we'll put him back in the stack. Do you do the same thing? And I immediately scroll. I was like, I could see the TikTok algorithm testing me. Oh, he doesn't like Destiny anymore. Yeah. So we'll see how this continues to progress, but I like when we're talking about people being murdered, that's kind of a line. Like, I don't think that you can advocate for people to be murdered and not expect there to be negative repercussions from the public, right? The more you watch streamers, the more you realize that shadow always reveals itself. Well, now, I don't know. You said something else about he solicited youthful pics from a girl on Twitter. Does that mean that he was looking for underage pictures or something? That sounds like they're stretching it. The more popular they are, the greater the chances they have a thing for kids. Man, I'm... all people are disgusting to me. If your name is Melissa and you're married to me, she's kind of cute. But everybody else, you're disgusting. Get away from me. I don't want to see you naked. No, thank you. That's my position. Is there something to like people that have that tendency that there are certain people in power that are more likely to put them in power because they can use that to control them? I mean, it's a conspiracy theory. Sounds reasonable. There's so one of the conspiracy theories I've seen out there that I think is really, really interesting is the idea that Epstein was actually a honeypot run by the Israeli government because he had Mossad connections apparently, and they were Jewish and stuff. So some people are claiming that it was a honeypot run by that there are actual intelligence agencies out there that allow this to go on so that they can use it to control people, which is incredibly disturbing. Incredibly disturbing. But it's just a theory. It's just a theory. At least someone gave him a lot of money. Yeah, well, yeah, because I think the whole thing is it doesn't necessarily make sense how he had so much money. But, like, I don't know. Like, if you're a people person and you're running a fund and everything, like, you can make a lot of money. So, I ran into this house the other day. We took the kids. Did I tell you about this? Oh, yeah, I did, because we were trying to find it on the map, and it wasn't on the map yet. We found, like, a billionaire house the other day. It was like, they're out there. What was the name of his... I don't know. Well, it was... I don't think that he had, like, a public fund, though, did he? I think that it was more complicated than that. Not complicated than that, but... He was a financier, so I think it was more private equity, right? Let's see. Let's see. What was his company? Career, teaching, banking. He joined Bear Stearns in 1976 as a low-level junior assistant and to a floor trader. He moved up to become an options trader working in a special products division and then advised the bank's wealthiest clients, such as C. Graham President Edgar Bonfram, on tax mitigation strategies. Jimmy Kane, the bank's later chief executive officer, praised Epstein's skill with wealthy clients and complex products. In 1980, 4 years after joining Bear Stearns, Epstein became a limited partner. In 1981, Epstein was asked to leave Bear Stearns for, according to his sworn testimony, being guilty of a Regulation D violation. Even though Epstein departed abruptly, he remained close to Kane and Greenberg and was client of Bear Stearns until his collapse in 2008. Then he did financial consulting. He funded his own consulting firm, Intercontinental Assets Group. But I tell you what, man, it seems to me that if you are going to create a company, that if you can make the most generic corporate sounding name ever, that's like the way that you want to go, right? Intercontinental Assets Group. Does it get more plain than that? Epstein described his work at the time as being a high-level bounty hunter. Epstein also stated to some people at the time that he was an intelligent asset. Yeah, probably. He was also a consultant for Towers Financial Corporation. Here we go. While Epstein was still consulting for Huffenberg, he founded his own financial management firm, Epstein and Company. Oh, of course. I should have been able to guess that one, huh? Anyways. But there's still the thing that he claimed to be an intelligence asset. So it may well be the case that, yeah, it's a plausible theory. It's more than just a plausible theory. Like I think that one goes a little bit past the conspiracy theory status, right? Like we have some reasons to believe that he was involved with intelligence agencies. Now, whether the intelligence agencies were intentionally letting him run a child trafficking ring is a completely different thing, right? That might have been more like they didn't fully understand what was going on and they just kind of chose to look the other way, probably more likely. But I'm a little bit skeptical of the idea that, like, as how did Uzi put it? The more popular they are, the greater chances that they have a thing for kids. I don't actually think that's it. I think that it is a way more pervasive issue than most people realize. Like, because there's this fuzzy area when we're talking about kids that are like 16, 17, right? And so there are bad actors out there that absolutely try and play with that fuzzy area. And I mean, that's what Epstein was doing, right? And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot more people that have a problem out there than people realize. But like I said, for me, everybody's disgusting. You know, gross. Unless your name is Melissa and you're married to me. She's kind of cute, but everybody else, I don't want to see you naked. Don't send me pictures. No, thank you. And I don't understand why anybody in a prominent position, like that's a streamer or whatever, would even think about playing those games. Is just so beyond me. So beyond me. So I don't know what thing you're talking about with Destiny. I guess I'm really thinking about the Dr. Disrespect thing. It's a Dr. Disrespect thing, right? Because that's basically here's my understanding of what happened with it. Why am I talking about this? Should I really be talking about this? Well, I kind of started, so I'm going to finish the thought. My understanding of what happened with Dr. Disrespect was that a 16, 17-year-old girl started messaging Dr. Disrespect, and that she was actually, like, working together with Twitch staff to kind of entrap him. And so when it kind of came out and they banned him, it all went to court. And so because it was actually Twitch staff spying on him and entrapping him, that's why he won a case against them, essentially, right? Where it was like he won the case and there was no wrongdoing. Or at least he didn't break the law, which, as far as I understand, is true. He didn't break the law. But he did do something that was inappropriate, in my opinion. And I think that the thing that he did, as I understand it, would be enough for me to be like, I really don't think this is a guy that we should be supporting and so forth, right? But then he like hid and lied about it for like 2 years, longer than that. And now you're definitely gonna. Yeah, he's done. He's done. I'm watching rightoids on Twitter find, confront, and get people fired from their jobs now, and I'm supposed to like it. Well, I don't like it. But I do think that you shouldn't be out there saying that right-wingers should be shot. I don't know if that's something you should lose your job over, but I think it is something that you will lose your job over. You know, I guess the thing is kind of like, like this is the problem that I have with the Destiny thing, is that Destiny's position as I understand it, is Donald Trump is an insurrectionist. We can prove it. And anybody that is an insurrectionist, I don't really care what happens to you, sort of a thing, right? But that whole line of logic basically means it's kind of almost like putting yourself as God. You're like saying, I understand everything about what's going on and what was going on in Donald Trump's head and what's going on in the head of his supporters to say whether or not it's okay that they are murdered. It's really a messed up way of thinking. It really is. I personally don't really want to be the arbiter of like who keeps their job or not. You know, if it comes to performance, hey, here's the job, here's the roles, here's how other people perform in the role, and you're not performing in the role, and so I'm gonna let you go. And you know what? That can be the best thing for people sometimes, because just because you're not performing in that role doesn't mean that you won't excel somewhere else. Maybe there's just something about the team that doesn't work. There's something about the company that doesn't work. Maybe they just need the little kick to get them going somewhere else, you know? I'm totally okay doing that. And there are, again, like I said, there are some levels at which I'm kind of like, yeah, we don't want to be associated with you. Okay? But I don't want to be the one that's deciding like where that line is and who should be canceled and who's not. It's just dumb. And it really disturbs me, these people's tendency to think that they are in the position to decide that, you know? Because my one of the kind of overarching driving things behind me is like I think I'm really smart, but I don't trust myself. I make lots of mistakes being ADHD. I double, triple, quadruple check myself on everything. You know, making this desk over there, I was so cautious about every little thing that I did, reading the instructions a billion times and, you know, really thinking through, making sure that I knew what I was doing, that all of the measurements were good and accurate, and I still made a ton of mistakes. Right? That's me. And yeah, you can totally make a mistake about like judging a person or like understanding a situation that was going on. So it was really disturbing to me, all of these people that think that they're so perfect that they can have that kind of control over people's lives. It's just insane. Just insane. Because like the only control that I think that I should be exerting on other people is, you know, if I watch and support them or not. Right? I will stop watching. If Destiny comes up on my TikTok, I'm scrolling immediately. That's as far as it goes. And I don't know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I guess. No. On some level, you kind of have to be like, if we allow people to run around and start saying, oh yeah, it's totally cool to try and assassinate somebody running for president and, you know, attack or hurt his followers, and we normalize talking in that way, that's not a good direction for the company, for the country. I can say that. I don't think that I can say these are what the punishments should be. Like, should you be fired from your job? I mean, I know that I feel like I would like those people to be fired from their job, but I don't want to be the one that decides that. You know? We are social crediting this country up. It's true, April. It's true. It, like, the reality is that the social credit score thing is inevitable and honestly already happening. It's not the government. So, man, I really, really hope that the government never runs some sort of a social credit score. That would be super scary. But corporations already basically run a social credit score. And I guess to some degree, I have already a long time ago consigned myself to that's the way that things are going to go, and that's the world that we're going to live in. And I am more haggling over the details, right? Like, what is acceptable to be in your social credit score or not, right? Because, like, if you were part of a riot, I kind of feel like that's something that an employer is going to want to know, right? But I don't think that, who you voted for in the last election should be a part of that social credit score, right? Always contextualizing us step by step into dictatorships, I guess. I don't think it's practical or viable to come in and say, everybody should be able to do what they want and it should never affect their job or relationships with other people, though. Like that's the thing. Is that cancel or let's call it a social credit system is, in my view, a natural consequence of the internet and being so interconnected. Because the reality is that the social credit system has always existed to some extent. When you lived in, it was like the Copper Age, essentially, the Stone Age and the Copper Age, and you lived in a small village. Everybody knew who you were. Well, maybe not everybody knew who you were, but there's like maybe 200 people. Okay, so most people are at least familiar with you. And if you do something stupid, say something stupid, everybody in the village is going to know and is going to treat you differently. And a lot of human behavior, well, it seems that there's a lot in our evolution that is optimized towards reducing those risks. Like, that's why we are shy. That's why we approach courtship and so forth the way that we do, because there was a high risk with it, right? Like, if you as a guy, if you go and you approach the prettiest girl in the village and she completely humiliates you, that will have a strong impact on your future ability to find a partner. So that's kind of why the way we are the way that we are. And then we came into a different society where we're cities and so forth. And so then it kind of turned into, you can get away with a lot. There's a bit of anonymity. You go in and you might do something and people are going to forget who you are because there's just so many people that you don't matter, right? And that was the world that we lived in for a few hundred years, maybe not even a few hundred years. And now that we have the technology, it kind of takes you back to the village to an extent, right? So am I contextualizing us step by step into dictatorship? I guess, but I'm not the one that's making it happen. I'm just telling you it's inevitable. Like, from my perspective, it doesn't matter how much I speak out about it or dislike it or whatever the deal is. It's not going to change it. And I would rather prepare myself and my children and the people around me to understand how to correctly navigate that world instead. When you come, so Billy Ray, I updated it. So if you go to speculatorseth.com/downloads and download the latest version of the indicator suite, you can download it. And there's a couple of separate downloads. Should I go over that real quick? Speculatorseth.com/downloads.html. I think there's a little bit of documentation that I need to make, but I probably will just make a video about it. So the Elite Indicator Suite is probably what you're interested in. So I updated it on the 15th, and you can download it from here, right? And then there's documentation about everything. Related to that, one of the new indicators is the news indicator that will tell you the news elements or the upcoming news, and it puts a little line on the chart and everything, right? So for that to work, you have to have this news.csv, and you put it under the NinjaTrader folder. So let me show you. So like if you're on Windows here, you go to Documents, NinjaTrader 8, and then Saved. And under Saved, you want to put that news.csv. So that's another download there that you want to put in. Right. Now, for some people, you should be okay to just follow the instructions on how to install indicators. See, it has it right here. Tools, import NinjaScript add-on, find the zip file. It will tell you about third-party add-ons, yes, etc. Oh, that reminds me, I need to do something else, which is to put the market depth tape in a different zip. The law can handle someone in the moment. People's choices don't need to follow them forever. Okay, maybe. So tell me this then. So if Dr. Disrespect pops up on your feed for 5 years from now, you think we should give him a chance? Because I'm not going to. I'm going to scroll on. In custom market. I never watched him to begin with, but he should be given the chance for people to give him the chance. Yes. I guess it's not really a very good example because I never watched him either, right? I never watched him. I didn't particularly enjoy. His content. So. I'm also wondering if when it comes out like this, no, it doesn't. So then, what's the best way to distribute this? So another thing I wonder here. It's got to be somebody that I really liked, and then they did something, and I stopped watching them. I really can't think of a situation where that happened. I kind of think one of the things that might attract me to a creator is that they seem to have the maturity to handle, you know, the the fame and whatever, and don't do stupid things like that. Hmm. Okay, so I can think of some. Actually, I can think of an instance like that. Base Nectar. Not that I ever knew anything about him as a person, but like when I was crate digging, if I saw Base Nectar, that was always a track I wanted to listen to, right? But man, that guy has some of the best drum and bass music. It really is like it's a very different style from the rest, and I really, really liked it. And there was a controversy with him where people said that he was grooming underage girls. Really kind of a very same situation. And so the electronic dance music community has really turned on him. Like, he's having a hard time finding work. He's right. And for me, it's kind of like, well, if he puts out a new track and it's good, I'm probably going to listen to it, to be honest with you. I'm probably going to listen to it. But if I was running a party and people wanted me to bring him out, I would not book him. So does that mean that I'm in the cancel culture? As long as it's convenient to me, seems like it, yeah. I kind of feel like that's everybody, but I don't think that, and so based on what I think Uzi's saying here, okay, Base Nectar feels bad about what he did, and he doesn't message people inappropriate things anymore. Should he get, Uzi's saying people should book him again. Well, so he can make the argument that that he should be booked again or not. Well, I'm just kind of saying that they won't. No, he's never going to get a second chance. If he's given the chance for people to give him a chance and they reject him, that's on him. But you understand the point that I'm making, which is that people's natural tendency is they're not going to give him a chance, right? I do agree with the statement to some degree that there are certain decisions and mistakes that should not follow you forever. So I'll give you an example. I don't really know this person, but I know of them, and I've had the story related to me from other people. And this guy was at like a family party with some relatives that don't like him. And at the party, for some reason, he thought that it would be a funny joke. Well, it was a swimming party. For some reason, he thought it would be a funny joke to pull his swim trunks down. So I think that this was kind of like, maybe he's ADHD or something, did an impulsive thing, didn't realize that, like, one, it's a dumb joke, and two, like, there were kids in the area. And so this guy basically got put on the sex offender list for that, which is I kind of feel like probably the most innocuous thing you could possibly do to get on the sex offender list, but it basically did. And now that follows him, right? Because if he goes for a job, anything like that, it's, oh, you're a sex offender. What did you do? Oh, like, I pulled my pants. I mooned people at a party, right? It's like, so should that follow him around? I kind of feel like no, but then again, I'm not here to say what should and should not be, but rather what is and how we deal with it. I don't think platforms should be held liable for people's decisions. They should be neutral arbiters. Okay, I agree with that. As long as the person is not breaking the platform's rules. And it is within reason for platform. Well, it's not just within reason. It's to the platform's advantage. It's really necessary for you to have a successful platform to have certain base rules about what kind of content is appropriate and not appropriate. Right. But if you are within the platform's rules, I kind of agree. I don't think that the platform should be the one that's trying to exert influence, like we're gonna demonetize you, etc., etc., etc. Let the audience decide. I agree with that one. Yeah, I agree with that one. And like so the example that I think that like the cleanest example of this for me, I don't know if it's the cleanest example because it's an example that conservatives will agree with, but not liberals. But people that were essentially deplatformed because they opposed the vaccines, right? Of course, platforms kind of changed their rules, so I guess then it was you were saying something that was against the rules, but especially at the beginning, they were not breaking the platform's rules. They were just saying something that the left didn't want people to hear. And then they canceled a bunch of people, like doctors, over it. I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it. And I guess that's kind of the thing, is that when it comes to organizations, we can kind of set the rules on there about that, right? That's the thing, like Destiny, for instance. He got banned from Kick, but it's a 2-week ban for breaking their rules, which I do think he broke their rules, and I think that it was a good rule. So I do think that Destiny deserves to be banned for 2 weeks or whatever the deal is, right? But beyond that, as long as Destiny follows the rules, Kick should still have him. But I think that I don't want to watch him, and I kind of think that most people should not want to watch him. So yes, we can kind of decide what the platforms do to some extent, but not the mob. Not the mob. The mob is the real problem, right? Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah. So I'm gonna come into bin, custom, export ninja scripts, and then this speculator set elite.zip. And I wanted to see what gets put into the info.xml file. Just version information. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Come back to the custom folder. Find my market depth tape. Put it into a zip. Compress the zip file. Market depth tape.zip. Paste it. Will it not let me paste it? Okay. Compress the zip file. My workspace. Where is it? Where is it? It should be pinned. It's not. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, there it is right there. Didn't I make a download for that? Let's see. No, I did not. I don't know. I kind of feel like I get bogged down in details. You know, the position that I want to take, that I feel confident about and putting out, right, is I don't want to be the one deciding what is acceptable and what is not, who gets canceled and what is not. I can tell you that there are things that you can do that are going to destroy your character and could destroy your career and so on and so forth. I can speculate on where those lines are practically in the current environment, but there's a lot of people out there that want to be the arbiters. They want to say, this is the line, and if you cross this line, you're a non-person now. And I don't want to be the person making those decisions. I am not. I am against trying to like exert control, right? I will exert control with my kids when, you know, it's necessary for their safety and for well-being to help them understand certain things that are going on. Like something that kills me. My son is autistic. Okay, like an autistic person is going to behave in ways that are unacceptable to society. And when you punish them for doing those things, you're really mostly just kind of introducing trauma. But to some extent, you still have to do it because there are certain things that they could do that are going to be dangerous to them, particularly, right? And so doing that is I find so very painful, and I don't like getting angry and or trying to help him understand that I'm angry about the thing that he did and that he shouldn't do that thing. You know, I hate it. And there's all of these people out there. It just seems like there's hordes of people out there that are chomping at the bit to be that person, and it just disgusts me. Wants me to update when SCP, so I guess I'll do that. Okay. Where were we? Oh, where is... Oh, I don't have one open yet. Terminal. Because I restarted my computer to deal with the UPS bit. Maybe we'll just go. We can do the notes later. I kind of feel like we're doing it, but the market's not really doing a whole lot right now, so I don't know if we're really Twos are looking like they want to bid up. Okay. You know, like more broadly, I think that the larger trend should be up. So I kind of feel like, absent anything else going on, that it should, right? Or that the bias should be up. How do I say this? Okay, so now you should be able to download the market depth tape separately. So if you already have the indicators installed, should be able to install this over top of it. This one is like already, like you might already have, so you might not need to install this one. But if you're gonna like do everything from scratch, like uninstall the previous indicators, install these two, should be good to go. If you have any problems, let me know, because I don't have a way to test the market depth tape part. Maybe Uzi can do that for us. But you know, well, maybe now's a good time. I don't know. Up to him. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I already addressed Octavia saying the twos look like they want to bid up. There does appear to be a liquidity hole at 06.5 though. Kind of started around the top of the hour, so it's been about 30 minutes. We can totally go. I was gonna say I provided a separate download for the market depth tape, so you could test that, like uninstall your previous market depth tape and then install this zip and see that it succeeds. Basically, the thing I'm trying to test here, I guess, is that two people had an issue with the previous version of the package, that like when they tried to import it, NinjaTrader didn't like it. So mostly just trying to figure out what causes that and make sure that it's not a problem anymore. So I think that the next thing that I should be doing for the indicators, I saw something yesterday that kind of changed my mind on some things. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is like, oh, well, what we can do is, the last package installed, no problem. Yeah. This is just I'm packaging the market depth tape separately because that way the zip file that for the main thing is exactly what NinjaTrader provides me. Because what I was doing before was I was adding the other DLL in there. Now I'm providing it separately. That should help a little bit. We actually took 2 ticks down there. That's still like just the bottom of the range, but it's a little curious. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so one of the thoughts I'd been having is like, well, maybe we should like increase the price of the indicators and create an affiliate program, because Seth doesn't seem like he's super great at promoting it. I watched a video yesterday, or a TikTok, and it was on Y Combinator. Y Combinator has a TikTok channel, I guess. And they said that like, if you're a founder of a startup, if you cannot sell the product, then somebody else probably can't either. And he said that like, once you've found the product market fit, it's a different world. Once you found the product market fit, then it's just getting people to sell it and ramping up and sizing up. But when you're still trying to find the fit, like you need somebody that, created it and the people trust the person and the founder and like that's all a major part of selling it before you found the product market fit. And I kind of feel like that we are maybe still in the like haven't completely found the fit. I kind of think that we do have the audience and the fit and everything, and that I just don't put a lot of effort into promoting my indicators. Like we do the stream, I'll talk about them on the stream, but I don't make a lot of videos about it. I don't do a whole lot of stuff like that. And so when I come back and I'm like, well, I'm not really very good at promoting this, and so maybe I should let somebody else have a shot at it. That video really kind of changed my mind. That video said, well, if anybody's going to do it, it has to be you. So if you're not good at it, you have to get good at it. But maybe it's really not so much that you're not good at it as much as it is that you just don't put a whole lot of effort into it because you're thinking about other things. You don't talk about the indicators as much as you should. So I've kind of shifted, like I should talk about them more because I want more people to have these. And so what is going to be part of that? Well, I think one of the things that I should do, because I had a video that was like a really long video going through all of the indicators and showing what they did and so forth and how I used them. What I think I want to do now is go indicator by indicator and make a separate video for each one. Make a separate video for each one, and then on the documentation page over here, when I come into this, here's advanced cumulative delta. Above the description, I can insert a video. So then you'd have videos in the documentation. Yeah. So I think that's like one of the next projects I'm going to do. After I want to do that one after I make the video like are index funds evil. I was doing I did have some time to do a little bit of writing on that video. I don't think that I got a whole lot into writing a whole lot of script, but I was kind of browsing around, doing some research and stuff, and I came across a lot of really interesting ideas related to this whole thing that we can include in there, and I thought were really interesting. So I think that video has the potential to be a really great video, but we'll see where it goes. And then I'll start making videos for the individual indicators. And in the meantime, I need to do better talking about it on stream. But anyways, speculators.com/downloads.html, and you can find them all. The elite indicator and the market depth tape are the paid indicators. $100 for a lifetime license, and you can download and install it now. It comes with a 2-week trial. You don't have to do anything to make the 2-week trial happen. It's just like the indicator. Once you install it, will work for 2 weeks, and then you need a license. So it's really, what is it? What do we call that? It's shareware, I guess. I don't know. I forget what it's called. Okay, well, something happened there. Did I miss a headline? I don't see anything. I didn't hear anything. Oh, I am hearing something. I am hearing. Fed's Waller is speaking. Fed's Waller is speaking. The time to cut policy is getting closer based on analysis of potential scenarios, and that is causing a run-up. I'm a little bit weary about this one. Some of the moves based on like Federal Reserve comments have like retraced lately. So yeah, what I'm hearing does not explicitly make me want to buy, so. Nancy Pelosi is convinced Biden will lose per Fox. Well, yeah, he will lose, but what you gonna do? Watching this all play out is really interesting to me. It's like, yeah, Biden's gonna lose, but like, I'm not sure if there's anything you can do about it at this point. You pick a different nominee, sure. You know, like I would be my argument. I'm not a Democrat, okay, but if I was a Democrat in the Democrat inner circles, I would be saying, guys, look, chances are we're going to lose this election, and we're going to lose this election no matter what, whether it's Biden or somebody else. But in order for us to start repairing our party and regaining the trust of the American people, it's better for us to ditch Biden. So I think that their play should be ditch Biden, even though they know that they probably still won't win. That's what I think they should do. Run Big Mike. Sure, why not? Why not? I don't think the Big Mike wants to run. Michelle does not want to run. I really shouldn't. Man, this one drives. It's the freaking conspiracy theories. You guys have picked up on this, and you do intentionally do it to derail me, don't you? I think that's like the funniest conspiracy theory to me. Like that's the one that I find the most interesting and funny to read stuff. But I don't think it's an appropriate thing to say. Like it's a really mean thing to say to her. And I really don't think it's true. So I really think we should be a little bit more kind to her about that, okay? Well, my play, well, I don't think I'm going to take a trade today anyways, but even if I was taking trades, I think that my play was to not get involved in that thing because of the risk of it turning back. There was a little bit of a pullback, but they just pushed a little bit higher there, so I want to, I find it, the conspiracy theory thing, why do I like that? Some theories, because again, like I tend to be anti-conspiracy theory, or rather, when a conspiracy theory is presented, I'm usually one of the first people to say that's probably not true. But I still enjoy reading about them. I guess I think the reason why would be because it's like potentially new knowledge, right? Like I want to know more things about the world. And so here's the conspiracy theories, these rabbit holes that present you with like this trove of new information that's like almost endless about, oh, well, here's the situation and here's what we think is actually going on and all of those sorts of things. I think that that's why I kind of get pulled down into that hole. Because for instance, going back to the Epstein thing, right? The thing that's interesting to me about the Epstein thing is that people think that he had intelligence community connections. And like I said, and again, like I know this is an uncomfortable thing to talk about. So I don't like talking about uncomfortable things, and if I am talking about it, it is probably like something valuable I'm trying to teach you about it that's making me bring it up, okay? Yeah. Also unnoticed. And I'm also kind of be careful with my words because I don't know if YouTube like flags those words and stuff. Okay. But the things that Epstein was involved in is probably a more pervasive issue than people realize. And it probably is the case that some intelligence agencies and people in power use that to some extent. I swear to goodness, the order in which you get fed our comments makes me mad. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, what were you talking about when you said also unnoticed? Yeah, Ghislaine's dad was in Mossad, and Epstein told people that he was like an asset for intelligence agencies. So the theory that he was involved in to some degree, like as a honeypot for intelligence agencies, we don't have any direct evidence to prove that, but we do have some pretty good reasons to think that it's a possibility. And of course, if it's true, you go digging, you're never going to find anything. But the issue is that there is something in our genes or whatever that causes some like 10 to 20% of people to be attracted to teenagers. Again, I'm not attracted to anybody. I think that you're all gross. Don't send me nude pictures. I don't want to see anybody naked. Okay. I'm not going to have any relationships with anybody. That's purely professional. Okay, but the number of people out there that are tempted by those things is larger than we realize, I think. And so why am I bringing it up as a, like, why do I point it out as a thing? Is this, It's something about the world that a lot of people don't realize that can. I mean, it's something. If you have kids, you got to watch out for it. I mean, I guess it's the first thing. Right? If you have kids, like I have an autistic child, right? So I am hyper vigilant about who's interacting with my kid and whatnot, because it's inevitable, in my opinion, that somebody is going to try and harm him. Oh, you say that YouTube is deleting it? Oh, that's weird. Well, I have top chat instead of live chat here, but that's still... Oh, it's, you have a link. Oh, okay. Because it's about the assassination attempts. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know how useful like understanding this thing is to knowing, like Uzi would say, a lot of people in power are going to have that recollection and that problem. I don't know about that, but it is a thing. You got to be aware of it, and you've got to be, looking out for it, because it's out there, and it's more common than it should be. But it's unfortunate that's the world we live in. Okay, on the assassination thing, yeah. So let's talk about that. We're getting more and more information about this, and the stuff that I saw on this issue yesterday was really like, man, it's constantly like reality is stranger than fiction, you know. So the kid came over with a rangefinder, and the Secret Service noticed him, and they were arguing over whether it was a rangefinder or he was just looking with his binoculars. Then he left, and he came back with a ladder, and like they were watching him and saw him doing this stuff basically the whole time. And they didn't do anything, because their policy was basically they're not going to shoot somebody until they were 100% sure that this guy was trying to assassinate the president. So it was basically like, let him take the first shot, but then you'll kill him, sort of a thing. And there's even some kind of question about that, like people were told to stand down and not shoot him. So like gross incompetence is like the biggest understatement of the year for sure. The thing that I also saw yesterday that really had me like, are you kidding me? Was the Department of Homeland Security head said that they were aware that building was a security risk, but that they were concerned that the sloped roof was too dangerous. And so they decided that it was better to secure the building from the inside rather than to have agents posted on top of the building, because it was a sloped roof. Which is like such a stupid thing to say for her. Yeah, that's a bad thing to admit when the roof with counter snipers on it was more sloped. Yes, it was. And the way that I see it is this: the Biden administration is in, control the narrative mode again. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of telling, because before it was always kind of like, well, when people do this sort of a thing, it's you might be in a situation that you're not really prepared for, and some people's just natural recollection is to try and control the narrative, sort of a thing, right? But it seems to me it's different with Joe Biden and maybe with the Democrat Party in general, but more specifically Joe Biden. They just want to control what people are saying in general. It's like almost impulsive that whatever is going on, they want to control the narrative as much as they can. And so here on this issue, the Biden administration is scrambling as people are realizing how incompetent the Secret Service was in this particular instance. That's what's going on right now. Like, it's straight up is what's going on. Just based on their behavior, and there are some reports. There was a report that Biden was telling the head of the Department of Homeland Security to shut up if she wanted to keep her job. So the Biden administration is putting pressure on over there. And so what is the result? Somebody that's not really trained for this thing and is not really in a position to do the PR and everything ends up saying something really dumb, which, like, that may actually have been like the truth to some extent, but it still is like such a ridiculous excuse, right? Like, it's wild. Unfortunately, as we said yesterday, that doesn't prove that it was like a setup. You'd have to have somebody in on the conspiracy. But I'd still argue that there were people that were kind of undermining security because it was Trump. That's not a conspiracy. Like, we already know that. Trump administration was concerned about the security. They requested more security multiple times, and they were denied. And there were Democrats that were moving to remove his Secret Service protection altogether. It's just crazy. Like, even if it's a president, even if you have a president, and then after he's in office, he does something like he murders someone or runs a rebellion, something that we all agree is inappropriate, incorrect, etc., etc. I think that you still have to have the Secret Service protection, because the whole thing is the president needs to be able to make the decisions and do what he needs to do as president without having to worry about, if I do this thing, will somebody kill me later? So Trump should be afforded Secret Service protection no matter what. Yeah, fire Kim. I agree. I think that the Homeland Director should be fired. I agree with that. Got this thing with this chair that the two arms are like slightly different heights by like a millimeter or two, and it really drives me crazy. Okay. Do you have any idea what's driving the price of TLT? I expected good investor sentiment to cause it to drop. Okay, so generally speaking, when TLT is going down, which is to say that interest rates, how does this work? I forget which way TLT goes. TLT is in the same direction as the bonds. Okay, so generally speaking, when the bonds move up, that is like interest rates are going down. Yeah. Interest rates are going down. That's good for the stock market, and the stock market rallies. Okay. So, and vice versa, like if the stock market is doing really, really well, that increases the possibility of them increasing interest rates. So there is this correlation between equities and treasuries. Okay. So I'm going to give you like the really expanded answer because this is a complicated thing that we've had a trouble relating to people. But I think I kind of can kind of explain it to you. Okay. There are basically two factors involved in here. Okay. The first factor is that bonds are a competing asset to equities. Okay. So if equities are doing really, really well, that means that people are allocating more money to equities than they are to bonds, and vice versa, right? So because of that, you're going to expect them to be inverse, right? The other connection, though, is actually not a connection between the two of them, but a connection for all assets to monetary policy. If the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates, that is going to cause interest rates to go down. That's going to cause treasury prices to go up. So you can see treasury prices rally. The lower interest rates also help companies invest more. It makes money cheaper and it enhances earnings. And so you're going to see equities move up as well, right? So when you're trying to judge what the correlation between equities and treasuries should be, you have to think about what is the event that's driving them first. Okay. Is it more about asset allocation or is it more about changes in interest and the economy in general? Okay. So this morning we had a comment from Federal Reserve's Waller, also kind of saying, as many others have said, that the Federal Reserve feels very close to cutting interest rates. And so the markets, the treasury market was rallying off of that. So you saw TLT up. It was primarily because of that Fed speaker's comments, right? And not because of an allocation where people are out, because yeah, if it was like the stock market's going up really high, that could, because of the correlation as it relates to them being competing assets, would hurt treasuries. But that's not the driver, right? The driver is monetary policy. And that the one where, they're competing assets has not been as strong of a factor post 2008. But now that we've kind of normalized interest rates a little bit, maybe that changes. Because there is an argument right now, especially with interest rates being like 5% basically. There's a very good argument to be into bonds. Like 5% is not bad, and it's pretty darned good if there's going to be a recession. And especially even if there's not a recession, you could still see the bond prices recover considerably as the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates. You could make like 40% in a year off the bonds. That's like why Uzi keeps buying it, for instance. So. You've been gobbling it all the way down. Yeah. Are you're up on it now though, right? You're a little bit of profit on it now. My recollection. So the longer this goes on, the more attractive it starts to look to me. Sounds about 105. I'm still concerned about that, like, okay, so the market expects 2 rate cuts. I think that's probably pretty likely. Like, they're definitely going to cut in August. And then when they make the next cut after that, I don't know. I'm concerned that the market is just kind of like bottled up and ready to take off like a rocket at the first sign of normalized interest rates, though, and that could drive a second wave of inflation. And I'm concerned that we wouldn't realize that that's happening because of the lagged effect of interest rate policy. I'm concerned that we would not see that, recognize that that's happening until like we're way down the line. So that's why I'm kind of thinking, the Federal Reserve might cut in August, but then they might skip a meeting or two before they cut again. Just to gauge the market's reaction to that one change. Right. Because I don't think that they have to cut interest rates very far to get back to a neutral area. I'm for some reason I'm still thinking about our earlier conversation that we were having about like Dr. Disrespect and the other people that seem to get caught messaging people. I think there was a thought on that I didn't completely get out, because I was saying like, this is a thing. I'm not trying to say like, oh, there's somebody that that has an attraction to teenagers and that you need to be, but kind of the thing that I'm saying is that like there's a good amount of those people out there, and it's really dumb to like text people sexual things. That's really like the thing that I get to is like, you really should not be having those kinds of interactions with people on text. For some reason, people seem to think that it's okay to do it on text because it's like private and everything. But I really don't think that that's appropriate. Don't take nude pictures of yourself. Don't send people nude pictures of yourself. And don't ever have sexual conversations with people over text. The only sexual conversations that you should be having is with your spouse. And if you follow those rules, you're never going to fall into some sort of a trap. Right? And regardless of what your own recollections are, right? And if you do have those recollections, it is a thing. I wish it wasn't. Get help, seriously. Because I think another thing that happens is like, because there's shame on something, people don't want to seek help for it. If you have that problem, you should seek help. But then now I'm also thinking about the going back to the assassination thing. This is like the way that it all went down and everything is going to have a lasting and damaging effect on the American psyche, right? Because I saw a poll the other day that said that like a third of Democrats believe that it could possibly have been staged. I believe that. I think the one thing that really kills the "it was staged" narrative is how close he came. Holy. It was literally inches. It was literally inches. He just turned his head at the right moment, man. There was even, like I think it, or I would have thought rather, that it would be a possibility that the shooter would, and it's not staged, but like the shooter had that impression. Because like, honestly, who goes to try and assassinate the president and thinks that they'll be successful with it? But maybe the shooter thinks that an attempt would help my politician. So you go and you do it, right? But the thing that I think kills that theory is he almost got it. If Trump hadn't moved his head at that last second, he would have hit him. So there's no way that it was staged or anything like that. They also apparently they did get into the killer's phone, and they say that there was nothing in the phone that suggests a motive. Which means this guy wasn't talking to anybody about it. He wasn't saying anything about it. It was just a thought that he had kept to himself. Crazy. It's just, well, it's not crazy, but it's just, you know, you expect they use a terrorist or something like that, right? For it to just be a crazy person is like a little bit, probably should be expected because that's almost always the way that it goes. But gosh, it's super weird. Yeah, did you see the 3D model of his head in motion in the line of the bullet? Yeah, I did see that. You really see, like, the shooter did not appropriately account for the wind. So his shot was off, but it would have just hit Trump in the back of the head. But then Trump also moved, and that's what saved him. Nothing in the phone these days means nothing. People are smart these days. Maybe, yeah, well, I suppose that if you were conspiring with people to kill the president, that you wouldn't do it with something in your phone. That's true. But I think that what people were expecting to see was, like, what was he doing on social media? Was he posting stuff? Did he have social media accounts that we don't know about, where he was posting content, like radical content and that sort of a thing? And that doesn't appear to be the case. You know, like I think people were expecting to find out that he had a Reddit account, and then you read what his Reddit account says, and then you'd get some idea of what he was thinking, to be like, oh, he was a Trump supporter, but now he's upset about this thing or something. Like that he was a disgruntled former supporter, for instance. But apparently they didn't get that out of his phone. So if that's the case, then it really does seem like that the killer's motivation would be the notoriety. In fact, that's so something that happens that I saw another creator talking about that I had not considered, is that some of these people, when they become obsessed with a famous person, right? Like, they like the famous person, and they just want to be close to that famousness, that notoriety. And so then they get the idea in their head that they can get close to it by killing them, even though they like them. It might have been that possibility, but New York Post reporting the last photo of the guy that was circulating online the night of was taken by the Secret Service. I mean, the night of the shooting? Jeez. Newsmax is connecting dots to Liz Cheney as the epic failure of the Secret Service. It's kind of a hard thing to talk about, because clearly there's way more to know, right? Like I think that it's going to be a drip drip. We find out more about this shooting and just get more and more shocked for like weeks to come. You know? It kind of comes down to this thing. You know what? And I fall into it too. Like, I think I'm falling into it today. Like, we're again, going back to the doctor disrespect thing. Like, okay, like, it is an important thing, I think, for people to realize that some people have certain recollections and you've got to be careful about it. And I also think it's important for people to realize that it really is just dumb to send sexual content through the internet. Okay? But, like, do I really have to talk about it? Like, I feel like it's the discussion and we bring it up and we're talking about it. So, like, I feel like I need to talk about it, but at the same time, I probably don't. And then, you know, it was like, Uzi was saying, whatever, you probably have like a porn addiction or something. Nope. I you are all, I don't want to see your naked people. You're all ugly except for this one person. Her name is Melissa. She's married to me. Kind of cute. And before we were married, I didn't want to see her naked, ugly. This is my opinion. It's you know, and it's almost like to talk about it, you have to be like, you know, people are gonna think because you're talking about it. Do you have that problem? I don't. Okay, but you know that's the thing, and so like maybe it's better that I just not talk about it, and yet I can't help myself, right? and I think that we're all kind of falling into that trap with this assassination thing. Like look, we can all see it. Like, this is just an absolutely catastrophic failure of the Secret Service to protect a president that's running. Somebody that is like the most likely person in history to get assassinated, and their security was completely lax, and they let a crazy guy pull a ladder out, climb up onto a roof, and take a shot. And the whole time, they were watching him, like, seeing what's going on, and they didn't do anything. Okay, like I see it too, for sure. But I don't, but let's just realize that we don't necessarily have to, like, you know, we can just be spectators and watch how it goes and see where the cards land. I think that we get like this because we've seen so many, especially those of us on kind of the Republican side, because we've seen so many of these situations where we see something is amiss and the media kind of buries it, and then nothing ever gets done about it. And then later on, you find out, actually, we were right. And they were gaslighting us the whole time. Like, Joe Biden doesn't seem very mentally there. Seems like he's getting too old. Seems like he is showing the first signs of, like, Parkinson's or dementia or something like that. And he said, no, he's fine. He's doing cartwheels in the Oval Office. They were lying to us. And so then it's like, should we have been more forceful about it? Well, I don't know if you can be more forceful about it. The reality is that if there's like a narrative there that they're going to try and control, that they just do it forcefully, and you can't beat that. But you know, this is not that situation. This is like such a big deal that, you know, like, there's going to be a resolution, like, we're going to find something. If it was a conspiracy, I think that it will be discovered. I don't think that it was, but if it was, I think that there's going to be so much scrutiny on this event now that we're going to find all the details. So we don't necessarily have to say something. That's what people do to me when I tell them I just kind of fell out of watching porn like 4 years ago. It's better to not talk about it, because the more you do, the less people believe. Yeah, it's true. Well, the thing is that the question was not about porn. I've viewed pornographic content in the past okay, just like everybody else. Okay, but I'm more specifically talking about like your interactions with people. Like there are some people, okay, that for some reason have this urge or whatever the deal is, that if there's a teenager talking to them and they think they can get away with it, to talk inappropriately with them, to they want to send and receive nude pictures, they want to send and receive sexual messages and stuff like that. And on that particular thing in particular, I'm being completely honest with you when I say that, like, I do not think those things. I do not, like, if I'm talking to somebody that's like my age, okay, there's a really hot girl and she's 30, I'm 38, or well, no, I'm 39, so she's 39 and she's kind of flirty with me. Hey, I don't sit there and think she's kind of hot. Maybe I should turn it up, etc., etc. I don't. I just typically don't get those thoughts. Okay. Everybody to me is, and I don't sit and think, oh, I want to see that person naked. I don't. You're all disgusting. I don't, because to me, what my brain thinks is it's inappropriate to send those sorts of things unless you're married. And that kind of like, it's like that heightened sense of justice thing that you get from autism and ADHD. That's what it is. And so like that is so strong in me that I really did not, until I was married, I really did not have that stuff. And like the whole, like, because you would think, well, so how do you do the courtship part of it? Well, so first of all, we were still very, very proper within the courtship, but it had to be like a very intentional thing. Like to me, it was like there was a whole strategy behind it about how to talk to people and stuff, and it was all within proper. So I'm not really joking when I say, like, you're all disgusting and I don't want to be talking to anybody about sexual things ever. It's just, and I don't understand why anybody would have any opinion other than that. That really is like genuine when I say that. And I am, joking about it a little bit to some extent too, because I know that almost nobody's like that. Was your courtship overseen by the Council of Elton? No. You know what happened though? So, this is actually interesting. This is actually worth talking about. Okay. When I was in my first marriage, we were going to clubs because I was a DJ and I wanted to network, and when it was networking, it was as many people as possible because you're like trying to get fans and stuff. By the way, I'm super surprised that we're reaching those now. That's a little wild. I'm glad I decided that I'm like not touching this because I think I would have gotten trapped by that. So it was, I was trying to talk to everybody. Like if there was girls in the club that were interested in talking to me, I would try and talk to them. Not because I was like, trying to get in a relationship or have a one-night stand with them or anything, but like I wanted them to go and find me on Facebook and follow my page and follow my music and all of that, right? And so I was like on a mission, man. I was on a mission of, we got to build as much relationships and become a people person, because that's the real skill of a DJ, apparently. So to a large extent, that being able to promote yourself and people liking you. That's why Tiesto has had as much success as he has had, for instance. Okay. Yeah, and I came across a book. I don't remember how I came across it. I think it was like some sort of a YouTube video. It's kind of weird thinking about it because it's like in my memory, it's something like that I would see on TikTok that, like I didn't seek out or whatever, but I remember it being a video and I just don't remember how I came across it. But it was promoting a book called The Tao of Badass, I think is what it's called. Should still be out there. Should still be able to find it. And so I I just found it, the whole thing kind of looked kind of scammy to me, but I just went and found the book and started, I was like, this is probably nonsense, but the video was so interesting to me, I'm going to read it. And it actually had some really, really good stuff in it. And some of the things that are in it, I've taught to you. The thing that I picked up from that book that I think was the most useful to me, and I feel like it's just such an important insight. Again, like your mind is like a machine learning neural network, and everything that you get is part of the information that network uses to calibrate itself, right? And the piece of information that I'm going to talk about right now will do more to give you a high quality neural network than anything else. And it's this: a person's social value, it depends on the value that they bring to other people. The guy that is at the top of the hierarchy, the reason he is at the top of the hierarchy is because he makes everybody else around him better. So most people, they start out, they just want to be recognized. They just want attention. And, people will do all sorts of things to get that attention. A lot of people will kind of start moving up to the next level, which is like, okay, so I have to like compete for that attention. And they will often start doing things like they will try and pull other people down. Here's a person that seems like they're doing well or they're getting attention, so I'm going to take them and I'm going to drag them down. And then in turn lift myself up. And or they'll get into this thing where like they're competitive, and so like you're all competing for that attention sort of a thing, right? And that strategy in the social of climbing the social hierarchy is not very effective, because what really gets you to the top is making everybody else around you better. So like when you're in that situation, and there's somebody else that has the attention that you want or whatever, it's all much better to lift them up. It's if you're competing with, or if you see somebody that's trying to drag you down, it's instead of like, fighting back and trying, it's much better to be, well, actually, I'm going to make you my friend, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to help each other. And that's how you actually become the most valuable person. And so they said like there's 10 levels of people, but really only like the top 4 levels matter. And like one level is you just want attention. The next level is you'll pull other people down. The next level is you're just competitive. But then like a 9 and a 10 is that you understand that it's actually about bringing value to everybody else. And the 10 is you're actually good at that. So I kind of consider myself as like, a 9. Like I understand that thing I'm not necessarily particularly good at. And the book brought that up because they were like, that's like, if you want to get girls, you got to understand that part, because they kind of intuitively see it happening. That was one thing that I pulled from that. The other thing that I pulled from that book was that they kind of talked about like the process of being emotionally intimate with people. Like you kind of, and they kind of described it as kind of almost like the waves on the beach. Like you kind of come in and then it comes out, and it comes in and it comes out. And that it's kind of like, okay, you start light, you're just joking with them, you're building rapport. As you build the rapport, then maybe you can get into, revealing something a little bit more intimate, like something that you don't necessarily want everybody to know, right? And then you're pulling back, right? Most people, I think, figure these things out on their own, but I didn't. It was not that I couldn't figure it out on my own. It was that I had been so oblivious most of my life, and it was only until I had gotten to that point that my frontal cortex was developed enough, and I had things enough under control to even work on these sorts of things. And so it was a project. It was a project. And the funny thing is that I was married at the time. So I was married at the time, and it became a project of, I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to form stronger, closer relationships with a lot of people as part of trying to promote for DJing. And so I basically just practiced that stuff all the time. So when I did get divorced, it was like, okay, I knew this stuff. I had already practiced it. You just put it into action. And so it was a project, man. It was a project. I set aside certain days. I had goals about how many dates I was going to have. I had a process of the dates. I had like specific date activities set up that I would take them through. I had a list of questions. I think my favorite question ever, these are questions that like they get increasingly more intimate, and like you get through the list, you'll feel really close to a person. Like you get really close going through those questions. This is really interesting phenomenon. Like my favorite starting icebreaker question was like, if you could have a superpower, what superpower would you have? Right? So those sorts of things, right? And I had it all written down and stuff. Yeah, it was a system. It was a system. Because I did not develop these like a normal person. They see the way that other people interact, they're paying attention, and they figure these things out on their own. But I didn't. I had to build a system to do it. Not because I'm autistic, but because I'm ADHD. Like I wasn't paying attention enough to figure them out on my own. But that's why books like that exist, because a lot of people will miss little bits here and there, right? It was a good book. I'm kind of like hesitant to name the book because it's like the whole thing was kind of scammy. It was like they were really trying to sell something and like take thousands of dollars out from you, but it was good content that it had. It was good content that it had. No, it was called The Tao of Badass. That's what it was called. Yeah. I'm level 4 FPH. Wait, what? What is that? Oh my gosh. Oh, I tried searching for that and I didn't come up with anything, so we probably just made it up. Or the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration. It's the condition that you've never heard of. It's that much of a superpower. I tell you what, man. The whole like ADHD and autism is like a superpower narrative. I really despise. ADHD is a disability. It's a disability in kind of the same vein as like being nearsighted is a disability. And you put glasses on and then you're not nearsighted anymore. And that's the way that it is with medication and ADHD. Your ADHD, you have issues with regulation because you don't have enough dopamine and norepinephrine in your brain. So your brain isn't able to regulate certain electrical signals. And you take the medication, you have enough of that chemical, and then the brain can regulate itself. That's ADHD. And it's not a superpower. It's straight up, it's a disability. Okay. But there are people that they're blind and they develop other abilities that some people maybe might call a superpower. I wouldn't call it a superpower, but they can develop certain abilities that they would only develop because they are compensating in another way, right? So for instance, these blind people that basically learn like echolocation to some extent, right? And that's what happens with ADHD and autistic people, is that because you're not able to access those neural network parts of the brain as efficiently as a regular person would be to, say, navigate social situations effectively, you have to fall back and utilize slower, more methodical and logical systems instead. So you can see in the story that I just told you there how I did that, right? Because I wasn't paying attention in high school and junior high about how people interacted and everything. I had to read a book, develop a system, and then find an environment to practice it in order to get myself up to the same level of social expertise as a normal person. In some respects, there is an advantage to that because, not everybody comes away with that understanding that the person with the most value, it's because they bring value to everybody around them. That's why I run the stream the way that I do. So, like, my job is to make you all better traders. And I'm even, to some extent, willing to sacrifice my own trades to if it's really going to help you guys that much. Obviously, I want to trade and I want to get as good as possible. But I also take you guys into account in that. And like running the stream, like it's an additional thing that I have to think about. There's a lot of work put into it, right? But I'm willing to do it because I understand that really my value comes from the value that you guys have. Making you as good as possible is what really makes this whole thing work. So it's kind of funny. Like they say, like you think of it as like being at the top of the hierarchy. From some extent, you might think of me as like up there on the hierarchy, right? But in my mind, like I'm at the bottom of the hierarchy because I'm trying to help everybody else, right? And a lot of people never make that discovery. Has there ever been a time where you have found it useful? I'm not implying it's a power lull, just found what useful? ADHD useful? Well, so here's something that's kind of weird. When I was dating, through most of the time, so when I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was in the 3rd grade. So I took medication from the 3rd grade until I graduated high school. I don't think that there's any way that I would have survived through high school. The math was particularly hard just because you have to focus, right? And then you have to do the homework when you're not focused, when you're not on the medication. It's hard. Okay? I felt like that I had to work harder and work more hours than other kids for the same thing. But I did well in school. I got straight A's. So then because I'm in Utah, you're a missionary, so you go out for 2 years as a missionary, and then you come back and you go to school. And during those times, I did not take the medication. I didn't like taking the medication. It made me quiet. It made me like uninterested in friendships and people. And I wasn't developing social skills. I felt lonely. So I didn't want to take the medication anymore. So then I went through that whole time period where I didn't have medication. And it wasn't until I started to feel like I wasn't performing well enough at my job that, and I think the thing that really pushed me over the edge was that, like, after the divorce is just like all of the emotions become unhinged and I could not handle my emotions. Like, you're getting really strong emotions and everybody has a hard time dealing with that. But then as a person with ADHD, it's like you don't really have the same control over it to regulate yourself and bring yourself back down to an equilibrium. And so you're just constantly in this turmoil. So that was the thing that really got me to get back on medication. Okay. So I got back on medication basically right as I met my wife. Okay. And, for the first 3 to 6 months of me dating my wife, we had this agreement that we weren't exclusive, right? That we were supposed to date as many people as we could. But I don't know if it was because I had met her and I was just like way more interested in doing stuff with her. If it had something to do with like the time of year, because that was like around November. So you get all the girls that like they're trying to bag somebody down for the holidays. That's definitely a thing. And so you get a different group of people that I did not like as much, was maybe part of it too. But I honestly think that a large part of it was the medication. After I was on the medication, dating was not as successful. Before that, it was like every girl that I went out with, they would go out with me multiple dates, and they were always telling me, "Oh, why is it that I feel like telling you these things that I never tell anybody else?" Right? Like I just had this uncanny trust, you know, that a lot of people, like almost everybody that I dated, noted, right? And when I got on the medication, I still had the trust in terms of like people expect, know that I will do the right thing, that I have the highest integrity, but like the intimacy side was not there anymore. It was like I lost my ability to bring people into that closer circle, and my understanding is that is actually something related to ADHD, that when you're so unfiltered that it makes it easy for other people to be open with you. So, I mean, I guess you could imply that as a superpower, I guess. But there's, like, big downsides to that, too. Right. And it's not like that completely went away. Like, I think I still have it to some extent. It's just not, like, uncanny. Right. Yeah, but you can see that play out here on stream. That's when it's like, okay, I will come back to an issue over and over again that I don't necessarily... I'll talk about things that don't necessarily need to talk about. I'll talk about things that it might not be a very good idea to talk about, Part of, like, the early discussion about, like, cancel culture and things like that, I think part of my interest in it is that, I'm really careful about what I say, and I'm really strict about things, right? But I still have, I'm ADHD, and I have this fear that someday I'm gonna talk about something that's, I went too far, whatever. This is like with the vaccine sort of thing, right? It's like, oh, well, be interested in talking about the vaccine, or I'm gonna be interested in talking about the Trump assassination, and it's just gonna happen to be the thing that YouTube is not want people to talk about at that time, and it causes a problem, right? Like, that's a real fear that I have, right? Even telling you that that's a fear that I have is something that most people wouldn't do, but I can't help myself, right? But it's not it's a disability. It's a disability, and there can maybe be some beneficial aspects coming out of that disability, but it's not a superpower. Like actually, the thing that's kind of funny about it is that you can look at the things that ADHD people do and are maybe beneficial to them, and you can say, oh, I want to incorporate that into me. And you just make the conscious effort and you can do it. Right? Like, ADHD people are doing something that everybody else could do but don't. So that's kind of weird bit about it. Same with autism. But then especially you have a kid that's like level 2 autism. It's not super at all. Oh my gosh. The dealing with the kids is like, especially yesterday, was You know, venting here on this stream though today, I feel a lot more relaxed than I did. I'm still a little stressed because I want my UPS to work and I don't know what I can do to make it work. I'm afraid that I might have to just replace the battery. Maybe I need to take that battery out and like do some circuit testing on it. Maybe there's inside of the batteries is bad. And I just have to replace the battery. And well, let's see here. I can search for that right now. It is let's see here, SMT 2200 RM2U. Yep. Battery. That's it. $438. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, I guess I still getting a good deal with paying $100 for the unit and then only $500 for the battery and stuff. It's still, that kind of sucks. If that is the case, I'll probably just leave it and it'd be there for a long time. I kind of feel like it should work. Like, I'm not actually convinced that the battery is dead. Like, I think that there's got to be like a wire loose and that just like transporting it shifted things enough that, you know? Gonna look over at it now though, it's still blinking. It used to make a beep sound every second, but I found a way to turn the alarm off. It saddens me. It saddens me. All right, let's come over. We got like what? 15 minutes left. See if there's any new headlines or so forth. Dramatic footage shows oil tanker hit by kamikaze drone in Red Sea. Oy. CNN admits Trump on course for landslide win. Oh man, this is going to be so incredibly ironic, I guess. Trump really wins again, that it's a landslide. Man, we're still at 06.5. We spent a lot of time at 06.5. We moved all the way up, we moved all the way back down, and now what happens? We rebalance back at 06.5. So I guess in the long run, I was right that it wasn't really worth taking a trade off of, but good grief. It was still a lot of movement before it settled. Well, nothing over here. Oh, yeah. Donald Trump is considering Jamie Dimon for U.S. Treasury Secretary. I think that would be a really good choice. I would really like to see Jamie Dimon as head of the Federal Reserve, but I don't know if that one will happen. If they make him Treasury Secretary, then that's not going to happen. By the way, they had a whole thing. Actually, Zero has had a whole video because Trump hadn't really laid out his economic policy and everything, but apparently they have more specifically in this interview they're talking about. They reveal a lot of that. A couple of other things that were in there. Trump intends on allowing Jerome Powell to finish out his term. So he would stay as Fed president until 2026, and then at that point, maybe they would replace him. Who knows who they would replace him with. And it also talked about the tariff thing, which was interesting. I still say that tariffs in general are bad for the economy. But I don't believe that tariffs are never appropriate. Right? I kind of feel like that, tariff is kind of more like a, well, it's unfortunate that we have to use that, but in order to protect ourselves and our economy, we kind of have no choice. It would be better if just everybody was fair, but countries aren't. They try and gain an advantage. They manipulate their currency. They do things like that. And so what Trump was talking about, well, first he talked about McKinley, because McKinley, he had tariffs, and apparently they made a lot of money off of that. And he said that he had been reading a lot about that and that he doesn't get enough credit, and that tariffs aren't as bad as everybody says from his research on that. But he was also kind of talking about it as really more of a negotiating tactic, right? Like, I'm not convinced that you really will be able to raise that much money from it. And, it will cause inflation and the increase in the cost of goods and things like that. But, if it's something that you can use to force China to play fair, which was kind of starting to work, and I kind of feel like that if they were able to, if Donald Trump hadn't have lost, maybe he would have finished the job. Like, who knows? But, and even with EU countries, because when he was doing that stuff, like, they were responding. They were like, no, don't do that. Let's talk. Right? So I think you could have some success with it. But the issue is still that, like, you're going to have short-term downside from it. Like, you can see when he was in president, right? When Trump was president and we were having the whole trade war thing, was a lot of volatility in the stock market. Tariffs may help. For example, peaches grown in Argentina, packaged in Thailand, sold in America. Don't forget that all three of these countries have oceans in between them. Maybe tariffs might stop some of the silliness some businesses do for no reason. Not saying that's the point or anything, just the hope. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the problem, Nepal, is that it is really a hope on our part. Like, the reality is that American wealth is going abroad, that other countries have found ways to basically siphon wealth off of the United States because we became so rich, our standard of living so high compared to everybody else, and it kind of seeps out, right? It's just like, I saw this thing the other day. Should people be paid based on if it's a remote worker, should they be paid based on where they live? Or should it just be based on the job? The job is worth this much and they make that much. Okay. Well, if they use the second one, what that means is that everybody will get the salary as though they lived in New York or LA, and then they will destroy the few low-cost living areas we have left in the United States, right? It's the same kind of dynamic that's happening on a global scale. Okay? But there are rules that like, countries aren't playing nice. Like, for instance, you're subsidizing an industry, right? You're taking business away from the United States. And how are they able to do that? How are they able to be so cheap? Because the country is subsidizing it. Maybe some things need to be subsidized. Like, if we didn't subsidize cheese, we probably wouldn't make cheese anymore. Well, I think maybe it's a good thing that the government subsidizes it. Probably not as much as it does. Maybe there should be some changes there, but it's probably a good thing overall that they subsidize it, right? But then if you're subsidizing it, that stuff shouldn't be getting exported and then killing the dairy farmers everywhere else in the world, right? And that's kind of the issue. So, can tariffs be enough to force countries to come in to negotiate and to play by the rules so that we can actually have real, true, fair trade? Well, it seems to me that it is a good negotiating piece, but the big problem is, especially when it comes to countries like China, is that they know that there's enough controversy over the issue and everything that if they just hold out long enough, they can get a different president. So maybe it can't actually. I don't know. But it sounds like he's going to try again. And that's probably going to present all sorts of interesting trading opportunities for us. Does it also mean that we all need to have Truth Social accounts and follow it? Well, I don't get as live of updates on that platform. I'm hoping, I'm betting actually that, you know, when he does tweet something that's important, then it will just be retweeted on Twitter. Food's hitting my stomach and it didn't feel good. Anyways, that there was an article on Zero Hedge. I'd recommend that you read that because it does seem like Donald Trump's going to win, and so that economic agenda is going to be important. Of course, that's like what he wants to do. I don't know if that's what actually ends up happening. I would hope they'd be really careful with the tariff thing, right? Because otherwise, you could, if you did something like that right now, I think it would almost certainly push us into a recession. Right? Like if he played the same game that he did, the trade war with China during his first presidency, if he did that right now, I think it would cause a recession. So. Biden is considering whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad presidential immunity, the Post reported. Oh boy. I don't think that the to eliminate broad presidential immunity probably would not fly. Maybe if they specified more specifically certain things. I don't know. Kind of sounds like it's just another one of those, like, what can we do to try and save our flailing campaign? Get people focused on the Supreme Court. Sure. That does seem to be working the best for them right now. Ukrainian conflict. Donald Trump from Boris Johnson. Donald Trump would be strong and decisive in support for Ukraine. So claims Boris Johnson. Okay, you say so. Oh my gosh, this is freaky. This is way freaky. This is a video of celebrities hanging out with their younger selves. I don't know who these people are. Michael Jackson with his younger... Oh my god, that's so weird. This is too weird. It's too weird. Oh my gosh. There's something kind of creepy and disturbing about it to me. Especially since it's like they're having them hug themselves. I also don't like that. Oh my gosh, what the hell, Sylvester Stallone? Oh man. Did you see the Sylvester Stallone one? Oh, we're gonna play that again. Watch as younger Sylvester Stallone nuzzles up to him. Oh man, do not like that at all. Me neither. Yeah, it is disturbing. It's disturbing, man. It's funny. It's interesting, but it's also disturbing. Oh man. $666 comments about this. My mind is not prepared for the type of fusion AI is going to allow the common man to do. Things will start to click. Literally, this feels like a new foundation of reading things. I can't even understand what I'm saying here. Like, can we start to see the past in an animated light in the future? Let's explore that past. Yeah. For FFS, get a room, you two, talking about Sylvester Stallone nuzzling up into him. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm not going to read all of the comments. You're just going to have to go find it on Reddit and read it yourself. It was under AI video. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you with that disturbing thought. I don't even know what to... You know, I haven't been putting titles for the stream very much lately. I think I'm just going to leave today's title blank, too. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent.